Richard Tice is here. Very good morning, Richard.
It's not a good morning, actually, Mike.
No,
I'm afraid. It is just morning.
Yes.
And it is grey, and I think many people will wake up feeling incredibly gloomy with this news. Because essentially what's happened in the last 24 hours is that the government has confirmed they have totally and utterly abandoned Brexit.
Yeah.
Lock, stock and barrel. If you remember, we were supposed to take back control of our laws, our money and our borders.
Yes.
And the news that's come out overnight in the Daily Telegraph is just a forecast of what's going to come out on May the 25th on the official government numbers. I think this is sort of managing the expectations.
Yeah.
It's by the Centre for Policy Studies, but they are forecasting that the net number, so the gross number will be that have come in during the whole of 2022.
Well, at least another third, won't it?
Well, it'll be about 1.5 million.
Yeah.
So that's gross. The net number, after you take away those who've left, will be around 1 million people.
Yeah.
Just reflect on that in 12 months.
Yeah.
So when people say there's a housing crisis, an affordability crisis, well, it's not surprising if there's 1 million more people. When you say there's a health crisis, you can't see a GP, it's not surprising.
Yeah.
When you say that you can't, there's a benefits crisis, you can't drive anywhere, there's a benefits crisis because millions of people, I'm hearing stories of the fraud that's going on within the benefits system. Is that potentially people that are coming to this country? Who knows? What is clear is that at every level, Britain basically is full.
Yeah.
And I believe we are reaching breaking point.
Yeah.
And this number, when it comes out officially on May the 25th, that's the date to look out for. I think the vast majority of this country will say enough is enough.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, if this carries on for a decade, that's another 10 million people.
Yeah.
Where are they going to go?
Well, we spoke to Professor Coleman, David Coleman, who's at Oxford and studies demography, and he basically said that by it could be as soon as 20 or 25 years from now, there could be 100 million people living in Britain if this is not stopped. We spoke to Migration Watch at the start of the week, who said that their estimate is around 750,000. The reason the Telegraph has upped it is because actually it's the Home Office who have said to them, we're worried that it will be 1 million. That's the Home Office saying it.
Which basically means they've already got the numbers, they've already had a heads up, and everyone's running around like headless chickens trying to work out what are the reasons.
Yeah.
And in the online piece of the Daily Telegraph, which has got this, which, by the way, has already overnight had over 2,000 comments from distraught Brexiteers.
Yes.
What becomes clear is the quantity of dependence of students and people coming here to work. So, for example, there's almost 490,000 students are believed to have come here in 2022, together with an additional 135,000 dependents.
Right.
If you're coming here as a student, why do you need any dependent at all?
Exactly.
You're coming here to study.
Coming here to study for 3 years, there or thereabouts. You do the 3 years, you go home.
But here's the thing, you don't, because actually under the rules, after you've done a degree here, you can stay and work here for 2 years. And at the end of that 2-year period, you can legally apply for a skilled worker visa, and then you're here forever.
Yeah.
So these are
absolute nonsense.
These numbers are now basically, they are bedded in, they are effectively permanent, and it's utterly
excuse me for asking, but under which Conservative Party manifesto did we give them permission to do this, right? Because
every
Conservatives are supposed to be tough on immigration. Instead, they're inviting the world to come and live here.
Every single Conservative Party manifesto since 2010, which I think therefore is 4 manifestos later, all of them said that they were going to reduce immigration. And Boris Johnson in 2019 said we were going to take back control and reduce immigration. That was part of the Brexit story.
But how will you reduce immigration if you actually have a policy which allows people to bring family members here and allows people to stay here after they finish their lives, in other words, right?
So I'm afraid they have lied to us.
Yeah.
Ministers have been utterly incompetent. They've failed to do their job. They've failed to instruct the civil servants who welcome all of this. And so the net consequence is that we people who live here, we are suffering.
Yeah.
The country is bursting at the seams.
Yeah.
And
we're paying out money to people who should not be in receipt of money. We're paying £7 million a day to house. We haven't even started talking yet about the illegal migrants.
This is all legal migration.
Yeah.
This is all people who've come here by the rules, under the rules of this incompetent Tory regime over the last 13 years. And it is now peaking. And 1 million a year, within a decade, that's another 10 million people.
Yeah.
That takes us from 70 to 80 million people.
Well,
we've got an affordable housing crisis. We've got a health crisis. We've got a benefits crisis. Nothing works in this country. No. The country's broken, and the country is full.
Yeah. It's as simple as that. And I don't understand why any government minister can justify their existence right now, because the schools are full, as you say, the hospitals are full, the buses are full, the trains are full, the roads are absolutely, completely and utterly impacted by it. You can't do anything. The Royal Mail doesn't work. You know, nothing works.
It's why our policy, is the only sensible policy, which is to have net zero immigration.
Yeah.
The only net zero this country wants. You've got
to stop all of it.
You've got to say that we will welcome in the same number that are leaving. Yeah. So the population is capped, and then you can actually get to grips with the current crisis we've got in housing and health and all the others.
Yeah.
And you can allow probably a 10-year period to catch up, to build all the things that are required in order for the country to function properly, and to get higher wages, and to look after our own young people who can't get on the housing ladder. They can't get higher paid jobs, because if you increase the supply of labour, guess what happens? The price of that labour goes down.
Yeah, and the whole point of Brexit was to raise the price of labour so that people who were from this country would make more money. And it worked for a while. Worked in the lorry driving business, for example. A lot of British lorry drivers started to make proper money. A lot of European lorry drivers went back to their original countries of birth. And that worked for a bit, but that seems to have all been forgotten now.
Well, that's all being forgotten, and the acceleration, the growth in these numbers is utterly extraordinary, and it's deliberate. It's deliberate by this Conservative regime and this civil service regime, who seem to think that if they increase the numbers, then that might help the overall GDP go up, but it doesn't help GDP per head, per capita, and the place doesn't work.
But isn't that an entire shibboleth? Because they're basing an entire sort of immigration policy on an economic lie. Because you bring loads and loads of people into the country, it doesn't increase the GDP.
Exactly.
Because we end up paying them more money than they bring in.
Which the chair of the Office of Budget Responsibility admitted that actually net immigration did not increase people's wealth per head. He admitted that a few weeks ago. It had very little coverage, but is one of the most significant statements by a government official, frankly, in the last decade, because it has exposed the lie that has been permeated by so many people on the left, so many of these sort of centrists, so many of these pro-immigration people, so many of the Ramonas, the globalists, the elite.
The people who say, you know, why is it also that if we have a global economy, if we have a situation where everybody can go anywhere, why are they all coming here? Well, and we're not going anywhere.
Because the country used to work. It used to be an attractive place to come to. But they also know that actually we've got, in many areas, we're over generous. We've got a health policy which is over generous to those who come here and don't have to pay for it. We've got a benefits policy which is over generous and not challenging people. You know what? If you can work, you should work. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
But you see, I don't think many people are coming here not to work. I think they're coming here to work, yes, but they're coming here to work in the black economy. They're coming here to work in a place where they don't pay any tax. They're coming here to get rich compared to where they come from. But at the end of the day, we're getting absolutely no benefit from it. You know, the idea that all these Ramonas wander about Chiswick and go, oh, isn't it great? There's a nice Lebanese restaurant there full of people from Lebanon. Well, that's great. But how many of them are paying tax? How much of our money is actually being recovered into the economy? And what about all these illegal migrants who we haven't even mentioned yet, who are costing us £7 million a day?
It's unbelievable. And the real proof is in the pudding of the latest GDP figures that have come out today. And some people are expressing excitement. Wow, in the first quarter of 2023, the economy's grown by 0.1%.
Brilliant.
That's basically flat. But in March, it fell by 0.3%. So as we get ever more people, things don't work, and actually the economy is at best flatlining or going down. And the Tories are celebrating the fact they might have gone up by 0.1%. That's not growth.
No.
That's a flatlining, recessionary catastrophe.
And the other problem that we'll mention is the fact that 650,000 people basically quit their jobs during the COVID pandemic and haven't been back to the economy since.
It's even worse than that. There's 1.5 million more people on out-of-work benefits than pre-COVID. That's where the labour force has gone. And instead of getting them back to work, the government and big businesses, the multinationals, they've just imported in 2022 net 1 million people. That's what's happened. And nothing's going to change this year. You can be sure of that. So that'll be another million this year. And so it goes on. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to live, Mike?
Yeah. The queue for the doctors is going to get longer, I'm afraid.